Colleagues, so this is the agenda for tonight. It's 3 items, maybe in the main. Besides the standard items. The standard items, 1 is the opening and welcome, 2 apologies, and 6 is consideration and adoption of minutes, and 7 adjournment closure. So I've skipped 3, 4, and 5, the main items for tonight. The number 3 is briefing on the implementation of the recommendations of the forensic report on one military hospital and the progress with the ramp and related matters. And then 2 is the briefing on the SNDF involvement in the recent natural disaster in KwaZulu-Natal and parts of the Eastern Cape. And 5 is the presentation of the President letter of employment of the South African SNDF for relief operations in KwaZulu-Natal. And then we'll consider the minutes and we'll consider and adopt the minutes. So we thought we should not pack the agenda for tonight so that we are able to do justice to all the items. On Wednesday, we went well over time. I think it was we exceeded our time by 35 minutes. And so that was not good management. So I don't want this to colleagues. There was support for the introduction of the new item, item number 4. And is there no objection to this item being part of the agenda, colleagues?
Chairperson, if I may, I don't have an objection. Just perhaps a proposal that we consider swapping items 4 and 5. Would it not be more logical to first consider the letter of employment before we go on to get the briefing on what that already encompasses? Just a matter of process.
Okay. No, you are right. Is there no objection to this proposal?
Chairperson, just from my side, sorry, I was just I'm in load shedding and I just lost the connection. What was the proposal for the additional point? No,
he was proposing that we swap 4 and 5. We start with the presentation of the President letter before we deal with the briefing on the rollout by the SNDF.
I've heard that, but you were saying when I joined that we must agree on an additional point on the agenda.
Yes, that additional point, Mr. Murray, is the briefing on SNDF involvement in the recent natural disaster in KwaZulu-Natal and part of.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
Was support to it, yes. I wanted the meeting to confirm that support.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Please, so the agenda is therefore amended accordingly. And let me welcome all the colleagues to the meeting, starting with the colleagues, members of the committee, and the officials of the Department of Defense. And I do not have the list of the sorry, there is interruption. Can you mute, please? Can you mute? Can you mute, please? I don't know who is this person. All right. No, thank you very much. Nandipa, before I call for the briefing on item number 3, I don't see any member of the department on the platform. Let's take the apologies first. I've received an information that both the minister and the deputy minister are not going to be part of the meeting, and I conveyed those two apologies. I also want to convey the apology of the Secretary for Defense, who indicated that she was not feeling well and requested that she be excused from attending the meeting tonight. But she assured me that the documents are ready, were prepared for the meeting, and that there will be people to take us through there will be officials from her department to take us through the items, as it were. Are there any apologies, Nandipa? Any more apologies?
Chair. No, Chair. Those are the. Also, an apology from the minister and the deputy minister. There's no other apology that I have. And I also don't see anyone from the departments, Chair, only the PLO. And I have requested a list of delegation, but I haven't received it as yet, Chair.
Who's the PLO, by the way?
It's Mr. Sanele Monakali. He's on the platform, Chair.
Okay, Sanele Monakali, good evening.
Good evening, Chairperson.
Yes, thank you very much. Can you assist?
I know that the log division is also on the platform, and generally Dwaba will be the one leading the delegation as per indication from SecDef.
All right, that I note. And then for the other items, the briefing on the SNDF involvement in KwaZulu-Natal and the presentation of the President's letter of deployment. Who's going to tackle that one?
The members should be joining shortly. They did say they were experiencing some technical difficulties, but they will be joining the meeting.
Who are we expecting?
Thanks.
Sorry, Chairperson.
Yes, who's that?
This is Admiral Mapoto.
Oh, yes. My apologies, Admiral. My system fails me.
Yes.
Over to you, sir. Over to you, Admiral.
No, from our side, I know that the item that you were talking about now is going to be handled from Joint Ops. I will just check with General Sangweni, Chief of Joint Operations, if he's around.
Okay.
And Chief of Logistics is sitting with General Ledwaba. Then the other matter, we will just confirm now who's going to be handling the matter.
Okay. No, it's fine. Let's please, we leave it to you, Admiral, to trace the whereabouts of General, the Chief Joint Ops.
Chairperson.
Yes.
Chairperson.
Yes, Mr. Murray.
Sorry, my apologies. I'm not going to put my video on now because of the load shedding. I am just concerned that neither the Minister nor the Deputy Minister or the Secretary of Defense is present at tonight's meeting. You remember we spoke about the RAMP project and the forensic report, and outstanding was the Minister's response with regards to the forensic report. Now, point 3 is implementation of the recommendations of the forensic report. The Minister is not here, and then normally, that President's letter is presented by the Minister normally. In her absence, the Deputy Minister and even the Secretary of Defense is not here. I understand that on Wednesday mornings, our portfolio committee meeting clashes with cabinet meetings. But on Thursday evenings, that's why one of the reasons why we have it in the evening, so that the minister can attend the meetings. And I'm just concerned that I mean, it's a regular occurrence, and I'm not casting aspersions on the minister whatsoever. But it's a regular occurrence that the minister is not here, and these points are very, very important. And from an oversight point of view and from an accountability point of view, I'm concerned about that. And without, as I've said, casting any aspersions on her or the deputy minister or the SecDef, but it's just not acceptable that we attend our meetings, we comply with our oath of office and requirements, but it seems like we don't have the same commitment from them. So I want to register, put it on the record, because we spoke about that in the past. You, in fact, as I've mentioned a couple of times, that next time the minister must be present to be accountable and to present certain things. And based on that, we have already postponed certain items on agendas. So I want you to maybe write a letter or communicate to the minister and say that although we have got empathy for circumstances that might happen, but this is on a regular occurrence, and that we have to experience that she's taking this serious and that she's taking us serious. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, no, Mr. Murray, I thought I should let you finish. I want to remind you and the other colleagues that item number 3, the minister was in the meeting when we received the presentation on the ramp and related matters. She made comments, and that the matter was she had discussions with the chief of the Defence Force, as well as the SecDef, who she was expecting them to implement the recommendations, the findings and recommendations of the forensic report. So today we are taking a presentation on the implementation of the recommendations. So I don't think there was anything specifically that required the minister to be present, especially on this item. And then you also mentioned the presentation of the letter of employment, and you are right that our preference is that the presentation be made by the minister, because we're discussing the letter of the president, and then the actual details of how the deployment will be rolled out is then presented by the Chief Jones or any other member, senior member of the Defence Force that the Chief of the South African Defence Force deploys to this meeting. And but there are occasions where the minister will not be present, and the chief will present the letter. But I do take your point that when it comes to the letter of the president, would prefer that the minister be in the meeting where to present it herself. So I take note of that. Colleagues,
sorry, my hand is raised and has been since before you started.
Yes, yes, Chief Locke.
Yes, thank you, Honourable Chair, and the members of the committee and other members of the Defence Force who are also in this platform.
Yes.
Honourable Chair, on Series 3 of the agenda, that matter can be handled by us, because it's about the progress of of ramp and this thing, and how far have you moved with the forensic this thing report?
Correct.
That we can handle, Your Honorable.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, no. I've granted that General Mbuli, that the minister was present when a presentation on the report was made, but this time around we're dealing with what is being done in terms of progress made so far on the implementation of the recommendations of the forensic report, as well as progress with respect to the ramp project, as well as related matters. So there's no dispute in that. Mr. Reda, you wanted to say something? Thank you very much, General Mbuli.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. And I'd like to agree with Mr. Murray and disagree with you vehemently on the basis that, if this was a normal implementation of a project and, we'd had feedback, then it would be one thing. But this is a 16-year-old project. It's older than my son. The fact is that we are bound to have political questions that we're going to ask based on the presentation, and there's no one here to answer them. And it's actually unfair, Chairperson, on the generals or the presenters themselves to expect them to present these without having some sort of political backup. And that doesn't even speak to the presentation of the letter, which I think we're all in agreement on. So I do think it's a problem for me that the minister is not at our meeting, especially considering that this minister was previously, the Speaker in the National Assembly and should understand the oversight role that we as Parliament have to play over the executive. And so, yes, I'm also registering my objection. Thank you, Chair. You are muted, Chair.
Thank you very much. My colleagues, I have a disadvantage here. I don't know what went wrong. As from yesterday, I can't see when people raise their hands. So that's...
My hand is up, Chair.
Your hand is up. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Colleagues, those who are able to, who master this system, what can I do? I can see the participants list, but I can't see the area that indicates when the hand is up.
If you ask them to make you a co-host, Chair, it may solve your problem.
If they make me a co-host. All right, please make me a co-host.
But maybe for you, Chair, to see them, you need to go to the bottom right participant. Then when they appear, you will then see who has raised the hand.
Yes, I can see all the participants, Mr. Mutle. But the only problem is to see, the hands.
The hands.
Yeah. Let me just say more. I know. Can you make me a host, please?
I have made you a co-host, Chair.
A co-host. Oh, okay.
Yes.
But still, I cannot see. Okay, over to you, Mr. Mutle.
All right, no, thanks, Chair. I want to make an input, but I might be disadvantaged because I had network challenges in terms of me logging in on time. When I finally joined the meeting, you were already in the middle of the discussion with regard to whether the briefing must take place or not in absence of the minister. And Chair, you correctly said that when the report was finalized and it was presented by the board that or the committee that was dealing with this particular investigation, the minister was there in the meeting. And I therefore don't think it will be ideal for us to take this item off the agenda because the the minister is not present in the meeting. Not that I don't agree with the assertion that the minister must take this meeting serious. It's very important that she must attend these meetings, so that where there's a need for her to give political clarity on any matter, she must be able to do so, including the deputy minister. Where she is not able to attend, she must be able to delegate the deputy minister to be in attendance. It can be correct that both the minister and the deputy minister are not in the meeting. That should be condemned with the strongest term it deserves. So my view is that, Chair, if there are the chief log will be able to present, because all that we want the committee to be briefed on is the progress that they are making in relation to those recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Motle. Colleagues, I think we can go ahead now and receive the presentation from General Mbuli as well as General Litwaba. Colleagues, may I then invite the generals? They've, I'm sure, decided the two of them who will take us the presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and honorable members of the committee. As I've earlier mentioned, Honorable Chair, that our presentation, it will give the direction that the defense has taken through the military police and register the case with the NPA for further investigation. That matter will be further clarified by Admiral Mapoto. Then General Litwaba will then give the progress on the implementation of the RAMP project and the building of capacity within the Defense Works formation, so that we can finalize all these projects as it was decided by by SCOA. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll then give.
Thank you very much.
Mama Poto to then give a short briefing, then General Litwaba will then finalize this matter. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much. Admiral Mapoto.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, CLOC, members of the committee. Mine will not come in a form of a presentation, but in terms of the status of the investigation, maybe with a bit of background, is that we in October 2019, we've referred, this case was referred through Inspector General, the Directorate Anti-Corruption and Anti-Fraud, to the forensic investigation in terms of the RAMP. Then we received the reports back in December of 2020. Thereafter, what happened is that the recommendations were that, one of the main recommendations were that those who were implicated and the companies that were implicated, the matter should be, or implicated in fraudulent activities, the matter must be referred to the South African Police mainly the Directorate Priority Crime Investigation, in other words, the Hawks, who they thought that will have enough capacity and resources to do the investigation. Then after those recommendations, we took those recommendations to have a meeting with the head of the DPCI, and where he called his senior investigators. We have agreed since then to that they will take up the case, and the case was then registered with them. One reason that we thought that it should go is that some of the members who were involved and the companies, we couldn't prosecute the companies internally because we don't have due restriction. And the members who are implicated have since left the defense force. So the proper recommendation or the proper organization to deal with them was the Hawks. Then a case was opened with the Hawks, started with as an inquiry on inquiry number 2 of 9/2021. After that, we came back again together. We established a team between the DPCI and investigators of the military police. Then we had a visit again to the company that conducted the forensic investigation.
Chairperson. Chairperson.
Sorry, Admiral. Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Shelembe.
Yes, I'm just checking if this is just, the verbal presentation, or there is, because I'm just seeing here progress on capacity building. I'm just checking.
No.
It's verbal, sir.
This is verbal. That presentation is coming, Mr. Shelembe. He's just updating us on his interaction with the Hawks on the matter.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That is
my apologies. While I accept that we get a verbal, it has been practice for us that every report and feedback that we get must be in writing. So if it is verbal, then we have always requested them to forward to us a written submission as well, or a written report as well. So I think that's just very, very important that whatever we discuss, that there must be no confusion in terms of what is reported. And in that regard, we should always, and we have always, so this seems to be an exception now, and I'm not quite sure why, that we get a verbal report and not something in writing.
No, Mr. Mare, is actually, I hear you, but if you want a confirmation, this thing is recorded live, and you'll find it on YouTube. And 1 and 2 will minute everything that Admiral Maputo says. So there shouldn't be any problem with that. So what the Admiral is reporting is in relation to the department referring the matter to the Hawks. In other words, opening the case with the Hawks. Now is just giving us feedback on the interaction he has had representing the department with the Hawks. That would be fully recorded, colleagues. Please, let's allow him to finish. Over to you, Admiral.
Thank you, Chairperson. When I said that the team was established between DPCI and assisted by the military police, then we had an interaction with the team had an interaction with the forensic investigators in terms of clarifying certain aspects on the report, and the the forensic investigation leader was available to give us that clarification. So till this far, the matter is under investigation. And that is what I can report for now, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Admiral, for that feedback. And the second leg of the presentation is on the way forward in respect of the ramp project. And General Mbuli, I understand that General Ledwaba will take us through.
Chairperson, with your agreement, I just want one question or two questions.
Let's conserve time, colleagues. Let's conserve time so that we don't run out of time. We will discuss this at the end. This is the first leg, and we're now dealing with the second leg. It's one presentation, colleagues.
My goodness gracious me. Thank you.
Yes. Can I invite, who do I invite?
This is a different evening again.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. General Ledwaba will then take us through the presentation on the progress made, including the capacity within the Defence Works this information. Thank you, General Ledwaba. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, General Mbuli. Chief Locke, General Ledwaba. General Ledwaba is Chief Defence Works Formation.
Good evening, Honourable Chairperson, honourable members, and the Chief Logistics and all other members in the meeting. Can I be heard?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Honourable Chairperson, please allow me to just say that from the report, it had said that the build capacity within the Defence Works Formation, and I think that's where we're going to be focusing on, to say that what capacity has been built. But Honourable Chair, in the notes which we have given, we have attached appendices just for background information for those who are able to read, and they can continue reading. And these appendices actually take us back to 2018 with the Standing Committee on Appropriation, including a presentation to the Joint Standing Committee, where both ministers had presented about us taking over from DPW, but then also the capacity issues. So honourable members are free to ask questions on the annexures, but we are not presenting the annexures. We're just going to present a summary of how far are we with the building of capacity. Now, Honourable Chairperson, I need to bring to your attention that when you look at in the appendix, particularly Appendix B, there are certain undertakings which the minister has indicated. For example, if I take over the municipality services, I will save 50 million and then I'll save 100 million and so on. I think it will be appropriate that we also show that in the building of the capacity which we have already built, it has also addressed those things so that the honourable members must have a picture of what was promised and what have we done. So I will then go straight to the presentation and then to say that in terms of the capacity which we have built, I'm trying to press the presentation, let me see. Yeah, in terms, okay, those are the appendices I referred to. And as you would see, I think you have got them. I'm not going to be reading them for you. I want to go to the next slide. Yeah, this slide, that is where actually the crux of the matter is, Honourable Chairperson. If you go to the left-hand side of the slide, it shows you the internal capacity which we have built, and this internal capacity is able to do a lot of other things. Now, how many professionals do we have? And when we say professionals, we mean the engineers who are qualified and registered with the professional councils. Then we've got 7 members who are partially qualified. Then we've got about 13 in the reserve, which we from time to time call. And the intention is to bring all these people together so that they're going to work on our facilities. Take note, Honourable Chairperson, the 13 and the 7 which we have, they are actually having degrees. But
Chairperson, my apologies. Is it only my connection that is so bad? Or
Yes, my connection is fine, Mr. Murray. Mr. Mutla, I see that my system says you have raised your hand.
It's a legacy hand, Chair. Sorry about that.
Okay, no, thank you so much. All right, my apologies. Mr. Murray, are you fine now? Okay, I think Mr. Murray is experiencing some technical challenges. Those who can reach out to him, please do. Okay, and just to assist him. Yes, over to you, General Dwaba.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Now, what I'm indicating here is that in the capacity building, part of it is going to be the training of those people and then, of course, recruitment of others. Now, I need to indicate that the capacity which we have now, we've got facility support, we are okay, and then artisans, we are okay to some extent. We need to begin to work towards recruiting into the future in terms of rejuvenation, because most of these members now actually going towards retirement. But we want to show you the sterling job which they do, and that I'm going to be showing you in pictures to be a summary as you are asking questions. These members, Honorable Chairperson, they are assigned to do the following: first line repair. And in first line repair, Honorable Chairperson, I need to tell you that we've uncovered very good things. If you outsource a geyser, I mean, there is an area where we have outsourced geysers, for example, 3 geysers in the same house in a year. Now, when you put in a geyser, at least even the bad geyser has got 5-year duration. So now that we have taken over this job, we do a geyser once and then it takes 5 years or even more. So these are some of the invisible savings which we are making. And that is why in our proposal of taking over now, we say we want to take over day-to-day maintenance from DPW because we do it better than them who outsource it to industry and at a higher cost. I think it is logical. You don't go and hire Marine Robert and replace a geyser for you. You find an artisan who can do that. Now, we are also doing what we call less complex projects. And I think, Honorable Chairperson, you have been able to see Limbede in Cape Town. Some of you might have seen also the buildings like the 10 buildings in Saldanha, which we have just delivered. High quality job done by these artisans, which are 1,255, and at a very low cost. So that is what is important. And when we talk of the cost, we also included their salaries as they were on the project. Now, let me go to say that other issues, we have listed the leases and the whatever, those are still managed by DPW. However, what we are doing, Honorable Chairperson, we are managing DPW on the leases and municipalities. Okay, municipality services, we have taken them over, and it's one thing I want to brag about. And then the rates and taxes are still with DPW, who are managing them, and we have indicated that we are not very happy with their delivery there. Now, if you come to the center, Honorable Chairperson, where it says capacity to be created, this is a non-existent capacity, build environment professionals. Let me clarify myself. I said we have got 3, and then we've got 7, and we've got 13 who are reserve force members, and we want to bring them in permanently because they're still young, those people. For example, you're talking of people of 35 years, and they still have a long years. Now, with their qualification and us empowering them, it's going to help us quite a lot. Now, those are the things we are doing, and then project management, and then supporting discipline as ITC. Honorable Chairperson, I need to tell you that this supporting environment, which Chief Locke has already funded part of it, actually, it provides us with the support where we are able to account at a very short period of time. If the Auditor General come and querying on something, because we've got all information in the portal, we are able to deal with that. But over and above that, every project we run with DPW, the professional services will always say that we must give them what we call the as-built plans of the building. And if you don't give them, they go and charge us for doing the as-built plans, but those are not stored anywhere. Now we've created a system called a BIM, a Building Management Information System, which integrates everything. Once the as-built plans are done, they will be there, and then in the next 5, 10 years or 100 years, you will have the building plans of any building which we have in the DoD. So this is the kind of capacity which we are building and when we're doing. Now, I want to come down to say that if you look on the lower part, that is the capacity which you say need to be built, and I don't want to go too much into it. I want to go to the right-hand side where we say that the external provider who's assisting us, the implementing agent, which you all know, that is the DBSA. What is the DBSA going to be doing? One, they will be executing complex capital works and refurbishment projects with immediate effect as long as there is money on target and ensure quality and that it is on budget. So there will not be these things of variation order after variation order. We've experienced so many variation orders from DPW as we speak. And that will not be, because due diligence will have been done before the project is starting. Then execute specialized repairs and maintenance. There are buildings which you must first evaluate before you can do repair and maintenance, so that you don't repair something and you find out it is dead underneath. Like DPW wanted to repair the AMS, we stopped them. Because when we looked at it, we found out it is on dolomite level 8. And being at dolomite level 8, the Council for Geosciences said to us that you can never touch that building and try to improve on it. Actually, you must move out there. But DPW has continued the project. We wrote a letter stopping them to do that. So this is the level of interaction which we have. Then provide system and specialized resources for emergency response and repairs. This function still lies with DPW. We want to take it over at some time. And then training of built environment professionals. This is very important. That training, it is on-the-job training, and to make sure that these people get registered with the council. And then once DPSA has finally trained those people, they go away. And then we remain with our internal capacity and run these things ourselves with these qualified members. I need to say that CHR already has undertaken to give us plus or minus 80 posts for the professional teams. So, and he said that he will be funding those posts. So you find money to fund those posts. So this is part of the capacity building. Now, Honorable Chairperson, at the end of the slides, I'm just going to play some slides which shows you don't have that, which shows you how far have we gone and what have we done. Because I think visual picture will provide you a better picture. Now, what are our risks and challenges, Honorable Chairperson? The memorandum of understanding between DPSA and ourselves require two important things. That there might be funding for the structure and staffing. I'm happy that Chief HR has already agreed to put the professionals, because DPSA will be focusing on the professionals who are okay. Now, when you look at funding for projects, because you see, although our facilities are broken down, they create an opportunity for workplace exposure. So that is where we are then going to be utilizing our members to do practicals and to be registered with to get what we call portfolio of evidence, submit to the various councils, and then get a certification with the various councils, and then they can run solo on their own. So that is in terms of capacity building, which the report said build capacity within the Defence Works Commission. So what we are saying, Honorable Chairperson, now, we say we are ready. And DPSA is taking us our hand, and anytime when we are funded, we'll be able to do any project. The bigger risk is that we could smile and say we can execute any project and make everybody happy and forget to build this capacity internally. When the contract of DPSA ends, then we cry again that no, we don't have capacity. This is not where we want to go. We want to prevent that from happening, so that we must have this internal capacity. And that is where we are, Honorable Chairperson. And then I will go then proceed to give feedback on the one military hospital in terms of the Tektura contract, because I think it is very crucial. And it must be understood, because in the report it is alleged that overpayment or double payment or 3 times payment. Honorable Chairperson, what we did before we took over Tektura, we did what we call due diligence. And as they were submitting their invoices for us to pay the work which they've done, we always cross-checked with what have they done under DPW, or what were they supposed to have done under DPW, whether and what has the DPW paid them. I have attached one of the pages here as an appendix D, page 3, paragraph 9, where we told Tektura that no, we are not going to pay you. This work has been paid already. There are numerous of them where they took chances. So we want to indicate that from our knowledge, we have never made any double payment and we have never overpaid, unless if it is something which has escaped us in some mysterious ways. But we really did make sure that we do due diligence with Tektura to make sure that they do not make us to pay what we've paid already. And let me provide the answer, if you allow me. It is the last one here on the feedback on the medical equipment. The medical equipment, Honorable Chairperson, is as follows: that which were bought, it was 1 scanner, 2 X-ray machines, and then 1 mammogram machine, and then now the history, as you would know, DPW was renovating the 1978 hospital, but they want to put in the scanners of...
With respect, I must interrupt.
Sorry, my apologies, General Lidova. Yes, Mr. Rader?
Chair, this is exactly the problem that we foresaw at the start of the meeting. The presentation as it's being put to us now is essentially a hatchet job on Department of Public Works and the issues that have gone before. We've been here for 16 years, Chair. Now we want to know what's actually happening to fix the problems. But now we're having a hatchet job presentation where actually we need political answers to hear the fight between Public Works and the Department of Defense is over and we've got a way forward. We don't need to be hearing about capacity issues and whether the capacity sits with DPW or Defense or whatever. This is not what we have to hear, Chair. I'm sorry, I must object to the presentation and the fact that there's no politician here to back it up again.
Mr. Rader, I've requested that we hold on until they finish the presentation and you'll have the opportunity to say your say.
Chair, this is not a presentation. This is a hatchet job.
Okay, that's your view. May you continue, General? I can't...
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I probably will clarify as we go, because the questions put to us is, how far are you with implementing the report of Abacus, the forensic investigators? And for the Defense Works Commission, is very clear, build capacity. And then we are telling the honorable members to say, this is the capacity we've built. And here, in terms of the CT scanners and so on, what I'm explaining is that why they could not be installed is not necessarily trying to say, but it is important that we have a background of why. Now, the DoD bought these machines and they could not fit in the building, which was repaired. And that is why what it led to us in 2015, taking over the project because we were not happy. And so we are now accounting for this, where they say to us that build capacity. If there are any other issues, then we could answer them. Honorable Chairperson, I think I've explained why the medical equipment could not be installed, and now they are obsolete, and they are now being disposed of because they cannot be utilized now. So that is the point which we need to bring in. And I think it is very important that we actually indicate all those things so that we are sure that we make it visible. Otherwise, the honorable members will have a skewed picture of what is going on. So, Honorable Chairperson, this is the last slide. The other one, if you allow me, I'm just going to be showing you the work which we have done using this capacity, because you build capacity, so what? What has this capacity done? What has this capacity done? And that is all what we want to just show you. And so we're taking you on a tour, and you can at the same time then ask questions and then we can answer you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. That is the end of our presentation.
Thank you very much, General. Let me explain why I allowed General Letwaba to continue on this trajectory. In the last meeting, that was in June last year, General Letwaba reported that the works following the agreement between the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure and the DOD, that they will devolve the function to the Department of Defense. The condition was that the Department of Defense must build capacity so that when the function finally is devolved to them, they will be able to run with it. So what General Letwaba is presenting is progress in relation to build capacity, one, to take over the RAM projects and other infrastructure projects within the Department of Public. Sorry, can you mute, please? Motapo, can you mute, please? To take over any other infrastructure or build or capital projects, as it were, within their environment. And the second point that Mr. General Letwaba, I thought you were going to address in your presentation, you also said previously that you will be able to roll out the project once the contractual issues and funding are resolved. And you then said the contractual issues will become clearer once the forensic report has determined which way to go. And that's one. And then you then said in previously that the project will take approximately 29 months to conclude. You said it's 1 month for the project implementation, 4 months for procurement, and 24 months to complete the construction. And then in summary, you said what you call the Defense Works Formation had concluded plans to finalize the one military hospital first floor project. However, the plans could be executed only if two outstanding matters were resolved. Firstly, the funding, we referred to it, has been sorted out. Secondly, he said a lot dependent on the outcome of the forensic report. And you even said that the current professional team may be suspended if it is found guilty of corruption. On the other hand, the professionals may qualify to continue with the project if they are exonerated. Now that the report has been presented, does it then clear your way to take over, to suspend those, to terminate those contracts that were standing in the way, and then move on with the project? And what is the situation with regard to that? I know that the issue, and you'll also brief us on whether funding has since been made available so that you can then start with the first phase of what you set yourself to do. Just answer that before I let members to deal with this so that you complete your report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Yes, indeed, you're correct. I thought that because I flagged it inside here to say that how long are we going to take, depending on the money. The 29 months still stay, depending on the money, if it is available. If it is available in small chunks, we've also given an option of addressing it according to the available money. So we are ready. Everything has been scoped. We just need to start working. And what we are waiting for is the finalization of the contract with the professional team. Once that is finalized, then we will be able to go forward. I think Chief Logistics will talk to that one quickly.
Chief Logistics.
Yeah, on the way this thing forward over the Ketura issue, because it's a contractual this thing matter. We are currently engaging our legal department so that they can then deal with this matter and give us the way forward. Then we will truly and forcefully move forward in finishing the first floor of the Military hospital. Thank you. Honorable Chair, we wanted to play the progress already made by our artisans. Now the host has disabled us from this thing. We cannot play those pictures as General Dwaba as mentioned earlier, that no, he wants to show you the progress, what the artisans of the regional works units have done. Thank you.
You are now a co-host, General Mbuli. How long does that take?
I'm the co-host.
Yes. How long will that take, General?
No, as we answer the question, it will be playing on its own.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you very much. Now, I've recognized, I could see the Mr. Mare, and that's the only member I could see on the platform. Any other? Yes, and Mr. Rader. I could see Mr. Mare and Mr. Rader.
And Mafanya.
And Mr. Mafanya. 3. All right. So I've noted these 3 colleagues. I'll start with Mr. Mare. Mr. Mare, over to you, sir.
Shelembe's hand is up.
And Shelembe's hand is up. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Shelembe.
Mine is also up, Chair.
Oh, yes. Okay, let me just note it's Mr. Mare, Mr. Reita, Mafanya, Shelembe, and Mutle. Any other colleagues? Any other member? Please shout, because I cannot see you. I can't see your hand. All right. So these are the 5 colleagues I will call, starting with Mr. Murray.
See, he's fallen off the platform, Chair. He's having tremendous difficulty with load shedding.
Oh, yes. Okay. No. In that case, I now come to you, Mr. Rader.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I'm feeling bereft of hope as I sit here and hear that this is just a continuation of the blame game that has led us to the point where we are right now. I see no real progress between the public works, the defence works, and now with the DBSA implementing agent. I don't think we've made much progress. I'm not filled with confidence at all that we're moving forward on this project. And until such time as we get the Minister of Public Works and the Minister of Defence and their appropriate representatives from the departments all together with us in one meeting, we are going to continue in the same vein, and your legacy, Chair, will be a project that remains unfinished at the end of this term. So, Chair, the report is noted but dismissed from my point of view. Thank you.
Okay, we note that. Mr. Mafanya?
Thank you very much. Firstly, I'd like to, there is a case pending wherein there is a there should be a case number. I would like to have a case number of that particular case. That's number one. Now, on the defense works formation, we were actually addressed in the past by the Minister of Public Works in this matter, related to this matter, and also from the ministry side, we were addressed, and then we were more like moving in cycles. The reason being is that we have never come to a conclusion that we should be told that here are congruent reports that says there is understanding between public works and the defense formation. Number one. Number two is that the more we listen is the intended actions that needs to be done by the defense works formation. That is not the report. So long you still intend to doing something, more so where you even say all these things could be done only when money will be availed. Then the minute it is not availed, as from time to time we are facing such issues, then all the report falls flat that is being presented now. Rather, you come to report wherein you say, we have received the money, we are fit for purpose, we have the manpower to do whatever that is required for this to go forward. So we have been dealing with this since for over years and years. And it has been the same report with people intending to do things that never happen. And we may be given all glossy issues that there are issues that need to happen. But the real matter, you only report when a thing is done, not intended to be done, because anything can change between times. So that is where I have a problem. And the medical equipment that is obsolete, the case is open, it's adjudicated. The case should just run its course, and those who are implicated must account for that. And because it's a wasteful expenditure, and we have dealt with that issue in the past. And there are a couple of millions that were lost as a result of that. So those who are implicated must account, and from henceforth, then we'll be knowing the designs of taking this matter forward. So the reality is that there's nothing new that I heard. All that I heard is intended purposes, that people, General Dwaba wants to do certain things in the right way. They are ready to implement. But the mere fact that there is no money yet, if all intended purposes, then we are extremely in danger. Thank you very much. But I'm not, I'm just disappointed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mafanya. Mr. Shelembe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I need the clarity on the issue of, they are saying, DBSA is going to be the implementing agent in the department. Now we have what we call the defense work formation. Now, I'm just checking now if there are any cost implications when it comes to the appointment of the DBSA. And also that, isn't that we may end up, at the same consequence where we are now, where the department will be blaming the DBSA if there are any failures in the project. Another thing, Chairperson, I think Honorable Mafaja has, touched on it, the issue of, the consequence management, it must be clear, sort of, the time frames, knowing now, having a sort of a time frame that we are here by now, and we are looking at finishing, these cases by that time. But well, I mean, if in that case, there's nothing that one can follow up and say, at least there is a forecast that on that day, we'll have, I mean, the question is to say, what is the status as per the report they are giving us today? Also, I mean, Chairperson, when you look into the issue of that, the building itself, if maybe they can give us, I mean, the clear, maybe a sort of a framework that how are they going to achieve, I mean, the purpose, I mean, of getting, I mean, that problem in that building sorted out, because we need, I mean, to have a sort of, I mean, a follow-up. By saying that, Chairperson, trying to put the picture like the time frames, you know, if you look now, this is where we are with the problems, I mean, in that ramp project. But, I mean, they must tell us now, in their program, is not enough to say DPSA is going to be like, I mean, helping as an implementing agent. But I will appreciate at least now from here, when are we going to see that problem getting, I mean, resolved? I understand, Chairperson, the issue of the procurement policy, this and that. But my concern is that I want to see that problem getting solved and clear programs that is leading us to that, I mean, situation. But for now, what I'm listening at now is more now on discussing what was happening before, what is happening. But what we need now is that what is the way forward? How are you going to do it? The plan must be clear. But more importantly, when we are getting the DPSA involved in the project, I'm trying to make sure that we do not end up shifting the blame at a later stage to DPSA. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shulembe. Mr. Mutle.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. The system kicked me out. You'll forgive me if I repeat some of the questions that honourable members might have raised. One, I think it's just an expansion on the question that we have raised, Chair, even before you open for hands. I am more concerned about the time frame in terms of relocating this responsibility fully into the department or the works formation in this regard. Do they have a plan? Can they expatiate on it? By when do they want to do what? By when will they finally have a full complement of capabilities that they are looking for, so that we know by when will we stop looking at the services of the Department of Public Works for an example, including that of the DPSA, because the ideal situation that we are looking for is for them to develop a capability or a standalone capability within the defense or the works formation for that matter. If they can clarify us on that one, I think we'll be able to engage from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mutle. I've exhausted.
Chairperson, okay. Myself.
Oh, you're back. Over to you, Mr. Mara.
Yeah.
There's also Kenny Musamai. Thank you.
Oh, there's also Kenny Musamai. Yes, thank you very much, those two colleagues.
Yeah, thank you. I have the same issue as Mr. Mutle with terms of kick out. So I must also pose questions that has already been posed. I must just say that this is a very disappointing presentation tonight, and the CLOC must go back to his office, and he must go and study what you have mentioned, Chair, of what was mentioned in the past. He must go and listen to our December meeting that we've had, where the Minister of DPWI was present, and the Minister took responsibility And she even reported at that stage that a disciplinary cases had been open at that time against some of their employees. Now, remember, this forensic report was already handed to the minister October last year, so that's 6 months ago. Now, it seems like 6 months later, the Department of Defense there seems to have been a board of inquiry. I haven't seen the findings of the board of inquiry. I haven't seen the recommendations of the board of inquiry. So, and I agree with my colleague that we need the case number at the Hawks where this case has been opened. People had been mentioned. People's names have been mentioned in previous reports. The minister is on record where she said that heads must roll, and that you will also recall, sir, that when we asked the minister at one stage earlier this year, it was requested that she first, get to grips with all the facts, and then she will report back. So that's what my expectation was in the beginning of this evening, that the minister will lead the presentation and that will announce certain things in terms of what was said and was promised in the past. So nothing of that has been forthcoming tonight. Remember, this comes from 2015 when they took over from DPWI. Now, I recall some of these matters that General Dwaba mentioned tonight from 2016. You will recall when we start 2019, I've mentioned to you guys what I have seen and experienced in 2016. Tonight, we see exactly some of the same things. So in other words, to still plan to do something is just totally unacceptable. I mean, how much more time do you want to keep people responsible and accountable? That is why things are so bad within the department. So I want to know, what is the progress in terms of disciplinary cases? How many people have been charged for disciplinary hearings inside the department? We need to know that. In terms of those medical equipment, I remember seeing those medical equipment in 2016, and when we went there this term, it was gone. So what is the cost of those medical equipment, especially those that we have lost value on? Were they sold? What did we salvage? What was the loss on those medical equipment? Because those are worth millions of rands, and we know that. So then further, I want to know, when can we get a copy or a presentation of the Board of Inquiries? And then also with regards to the DBSA implementing agents. General Dwaba and Seelock will remember that in the past it was justified that they are bringing in certain technology and certain knowledge that they will transfer to Defence Works, and because now it seems like Defence Works is basically contracting out all the work to DBSA, and everybody do as DBSA is deciding, and obviously they are using private contractors. So what is the purpose of Defence Works then? It is a huge frustration, and I mean, in terms of Tectura, the Tectura contract that was mentioned in 2015. Last time, there was a big emphasis placed on Tectura in terms of how wrong they've done in the forensic report. So far, we have heard nothing. And I must say that tonight is a poor performance. I've got a lot of appreciation for the work that General Dwaba is doing in many other cases, and remember, Chairperson, you remember in yesterday's meeting when I asked about the funding, you said that tonight we will talk about the RAM project. So tonight I'm also again asking, and I support what my colleagues are saying, is what is the funding situation? We know that there's nothing in this year's budget for the RAM project in terms of capital expenditure and the billions that is required. So where do we stand with that? And can they give us any information in terms of confirmation of funding from wherever for the RAM project? Otherwise, we know it's going to be delayed and stalled for another year or two and we must now be honest about this and don't talk around the bush, because I mean, we have been here for a long time. We have picked up all this information, and it's just totally unacceptable the way that we are treated. It is disgusting, and I also want to reject this with the contempt it deserves. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, I just need to correct two things, Mr. Murray. You've mentioned Tetura. Tetura was never implicated, was not one of the companies that were implicated in the forensic report. Tetura, recall that it's a company that the DPSA worked with to fix the sixth or the seventh floor, to fix that floor. You'll recall that they were able to do that floor, to redo that floor, rehabilitate it, refurbish it within weeks, and they were commended for that task. The companies that were implicated in the report is Multipro, that were mentioned, not implicated, that were mentioned in the report is Multipro, SSI, First Move, Superway, Baboreki. And so those were contracts that were mentioned. Okay.
So what is the progress in that regard then?
No, wait.
Replace the names, but it's still the matter is still
Mr. Murray, please be governable. That's all I request from you. So I'm just correcting one statement that you've just corrected, so that this does not get reported that this committee says Tetura was one of the companies that was implicated in the process. And then secondly, colleagues, I would recognize Kenny Motomai. Secondly, the department has reported previously that it will require, I think, 1.4 billion rand, you'll correct me, General, to complete the hospital. And then two, the department reported that it was currently outsourcing services to service providers at huge cost. And we all agreed in this meeting that the sooner we get our hospital, one military hospital, back on track, and the better, so that we are able to save the money that we are spending on outsourcing. Last year alone, the cost of outsourcing, 2019-2020, was 182 million rand. The previous year, 2018-2019, the cost of outsourcing was 130 million rand. And the total over the period of about 10 years, it came to 1.1 million rand, 1.1 million rand. That's the cost of outsourcing. So the sooner the department, restores the capability, the better, because it means we would save some money. So there was a concern from the company. That's what the department is trying to address, that there was lack of expertise and clear plan within. In other words, there was lack of expertise and capacity within the department, within the defense works capacity. And the department now, in this meeting, they are presenting that this is what they are doing to address. They admit, number one, that they lack capacity. Remember, the function it devolved from public works. They lacked capacity and they lacked appropriate expertise. And they are working towards building that capacity and expertise within the department itself. And that they will work with the DPSA that will assist them in beefing up a capacity within the department. And then there was also an issue that the the department needed to yes. So I'm sorry. So those were the issues that were mentioned that the Department of the Defense Works Formation is tonight responding to. That pertains to them. So and then there was an issue that of where the minister said the Minister of Public Works was questioning the devolution of the function from the Public Works to the Department of Defense. I'm sure some of you might recall seeing some documentation that confirm that the work was devolved and to the Department of Defense. Maybe I'll invite the department to speak to that devolution aspect, so that you get assurance that indeed the function was devolved. That the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Minister Delin, and they were still questioning it, does not detract from the fact that there is a resolution that says between the Minister of Public Works, Minister Nlesi, and the Minister of Defense, Minister Nosiviwe Nqakula, and at some point in the discussion, Treasury was involved, that the function must be devolved. This function must be devolved to the Department of Public Works. We can then look at that. I will ask the team to talk to it, and then we can then see how we move forward on that aspect. Mr. Motsomai, you are the last person on this before I invite the department to comment.
Chairperson, just a point of correction. Just a point of correction on
Mr. Mare.
Secura is implicated in the forensic report. So you are wrong, sir. You are wrong.
Mr. Mare, you let's allow the department to respond, and then you will come back and make your own comments. So don't just come in at any time when you wish to. Otherwise,
I must just correct you the way that you have corrected me.
Any member of the committee need to act like you are acting, then there will be no need for a chair for this meeting. Mr. Motsomai.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm so disappointed, the general, what he was saying. I was expecting general, there are the Hawks, because child and corruption in Atamul. How shall we see the word they to the Achulunkodimo, the second floor? Then you don't think that they can be more than 100 million. So now you expect the Hawks, the Chachile, but Babakai. I'm so disappointed. That's why he puts out why the minister as a thing, how to this issue, because this is a pending issue, or the deputy minister, why as a thing to solve this problem, but they must step aside. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let me just invite the generals to deal with the issues and comments, the questions and comments, and then we'll see if there is another, we should get another opportunity to comment further.
Okay. Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much, and thank you for your questions. I think perhaps the most important thing is to deal with the issue of, the first one, to deal with the issue of Honorable Minister Delin. Because that day when she was presenting, we were never given an opportunity to speak and to correct her on Section 97, which she was talking to. Although it's irrelevant, that Section 97, according to the powers which the Defence Force have, the powers of the Defence Force are found in the Constitution, and we can provide the document to the committee, and the Defence Act, in terms of the Minister of Defence having the powers over the facilities, inclusive of the Guyana Act of the DPW. And we're very happy to come and debate this with DPW, because we are the only people who can produce those acts which empowers our minister. How did we get this thing to Public Works it was actually outsourced more than anything else. So we need to deal with that. But let us say that we were to comply with Section 97, of the Constitution, which the Minister Delay was Honorable Minister Delay was talking to. That during the score of 2018, both ministers, the Minister of Public Works and the Minister of Defense, agreed, and they are the one who made a joint presentation to the Standing Committee on Appropriation and to the Joint Standing Committee on Defense to say that we want these facilities or this infrastructure handed over. So I thought that it is very important to clear that one. There's no single document which has ever been produced by DPW to corroborate that they are the sole custodian. Kiama Act itself, it says any act which was enacted before Kiama Act, that act is regarded as valid. So those ministers, then they are custodians of their facilities. Defense Act has said, if there is any other act other than the Constitution which talks against this act, for lack of a better way, the Defense Act prevails. So those are the things when we come to the legal environment that we have ventilated with DPW officials. Why they are advising their minister the way they did, we do not know, and then it said Austin. And so this committee, honorable members, we would want you to be aware of that, and we'll provide this document by tomorrow to the committee. Now, can I talk to the issue of us ready? I think Honorable Chairperson will put it very clearly. 29 months we are ready. The cost of the infrastructure will be 1.4 billion. That inclusive of medical equipment. And this 29 months is everything you come and you open and you work. Just like we did with the 7th floor, which I must say that the 7th floor is one of the projects which we delivered very well and during COVID time. So we don't have a problem with that. Now, let me clear the DPSA thing. We killed our capacity in 1996 when we handed over this function to DPW. We had the internal capacity to do this work. But then we said, because we are introducing efficiencies in 1997, we appointed Deloitte & Touche. Deloitte & Touche advised us to say that construction is not your core business. Move away from that. Then we handed over that over to DPW, and we killed our internal capacity. So the minister in 2018 actually spoke about this thing, and the Standing Committee on Appropriation has said, form a task team between yourself, Treasury, Public Service and Administration, so that they can assist you to build the capacity. I've attached the minutes of the Standing Committee on Appropriation and also the notes by the then Honorable Posa, which the honorable members can go and read, and they will talk to all these things what I'm talking about. So in terms of that, we have been given the leeway. DPS, Public Service and Administration, has already finished our structure, which we are very happy. But we said, in order to professionalize these people which we have recruited, who have got already degree qualification, we are going to go through a process of getting somebody to assist us so that they can do the work and qualify, do the on-the-job training. But they need to be supervised by a qualified person like you do with the doctors. Now that qualified person is DPSA in this environment. Whether they outsource or they do whatever, that is something else. But they have got an infrastructure approach which we appreciate, and we have actually seen their projects. That is why we go to them. But they are also forced to comply to the PFMA. They are also being evaluated, or let's say investigated by the Auditor General like ourselves. So there's nothing untoward. If we pick up anything wrong or we do anything wrong, there's nothing to blame. It is ourselves, and we'll be dealing with that. So this is what I want to clarify here. Yes, they are the resources which they hire. They are part of a cost, and the 1.4 billion which we are talking about, it is inclusive of the cost of the DPSA providing support to us. So, Honorable Chairperson, it is not long that we have reported about the DPSA. Their contract is now about 4 years, some couple of months, and we want to start now so that when it expires, The professional engineers have already finalized and they've registered. We've brought others on board. I told you, we've got the 13 who are sitting outside. The balance of the people, the Chief HR gave us 80 posts. The balance of the people who are going to recruit them directly from the universities with the qualification so that you then utilize them to become internal, internal capacity and the brain of the Defense Works Commission going forward, or the brain of the DoD when it comes to facilities. So I would like to challenge anybody who can say that there is somewhere where we have abused or utilized the money wrongly, because this narrative is incorrect. Actually, we can prove that since we started, we took over some of the things, we have introduced a lot of efficiencies. Honorable Chairperson, allow me, I've pointed to you that the minister declared in 2018 that immediately when she takes over municipality services, she will save 50 million, which we are paying to DPW to do the work for us. That 50 million is with us now. We are paying only about 20 million to the members who are doing the work diligently. What have they achieved with that? We had said that we are going to achieve, as soon as we take over, about 100 million. Today, Honorable Chairperson, we have written to DPW, they owe us 355 million out of what we have seen of the bills which they did not pay. And we had to pay them. And we see that that is a kind of saving which we are making. So I think we must be lauded for doing a very good work and allowing us to take over. There is a question of saying that when do you want to take over? We can come and present, Honorable Chairperson, our takeover. We said this year, last year we took over the municipality services. We've lived up to our promise of saving 100 million. We've saved 355 million. Now, but where did it go? Because DPW was saving areas, DPW did not bring the municipalities to zero. And even though we paid DPW rates and taxes, the DPW did not pay rates and taxes, we had to pay. The city of Cape Town alone last year, we paid 100 million for the rates and taxes which DPW did not pay. However, in the accommodation charges which we give DPW 1.2 billion, they did not pay the rates and taxes. And some of our building was under threat to be closed, and we had to pay and then take it over. So I think it is important for honorable members to say that there are things which we are doing and we're trying our best, but there's other areas where our leg is held back and we want to be released. Now, when are we taking over? We say that okay, this year we want to take rates and taxes because we believe we can also save, like we're saving on the municipality services. We want to take day-to-day maintenance, which is about 340 million from DPW. Why? Because we think that we can do it better than them. I've never seen any maintenance of a facility from DPW. I just see capital works projects and so on, which, as you will recall, over the period 2013 to 2018, they underspent by 1.9 billion. Now, for me, these are big numbers which we are talking about, 1.9 billion. So, Honorable Chairperson, we need your support. Without the support of this committee, we will not move. And DPW, when they come, we would like to be also given the opportunity to talk, because otherwise they say statements and then they are carried as if it is alpha and omega, even where it is not. Then, Honorable Chairperson, I think I have given a lot of answers, but then DPSA, like we said, why DPSA? We have indicated that they are an agent which assists us to qualify these already qualified engineers. They're like if you are in a hospital, then you've got a group of professional doctors who are mentoring the younger doctors to register. Now, as we speak, you'll see in the presentation, I said by the 20th of April, by the 20th of this month, we're actually starting with a program where they are profiling these seven professionals we have, so that training must start. As soon as we are able to bring on board the rest of the people, they will join, and then we start with the training program. So, Honorable Chairperson, that's what happens. In our society, we do have qualified professionals, engineers, quantity surveyors, structural and civil engineers who are qualified in terms of university degree, but practicals, nothing. So, and we're talking about young stars, and that is the future, long legs. So, Honorable Chairperson, I want to make sure that this committee must please have trust in us. If you want to go and check, for example, when we say that we saved 355 million, send an independent team. and come and see and say, Defence Force, just show us here. We will show you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I will come back to Mr. Rader.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Just maybe we'll deal with this question as well, General Mboli, if you are going to come. You wanted to say some, to add to what General Lidova has just said. No, the question, Lidova, which General Mboli is that has the unit, the formation, quantified how much they will need this year to start the project, the REM project, 1 and 2. I'm talking about this year, and 2, on the issue of rates and taxes. That you are saying that's the issue that is still outstanding between yourself and Public Works, that you would require the committee to support you on it. And I think the committee must also express itself on that. And my view is that if the department is allowed to take over that function of paying its taxes and rates, it will go a long way in effecting some savings that the department could actually utilize for other things within the department. But I would open that, I would expect members to comment on that as well. General Mbuli wanted to add before I move to Mr. Rader.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. There was a question that was raised by Honorable Mr. Mafani on the, he wanted to know the progress if any case has been open, what is the case number? Admiral Mapoto will be is better suited to give the answer about this thing. The case, and he will further explain the process, how far is this thing, how far they've moved with those external this thing in the environment. I just want to explain the process of consequence management. Was if the matter has been referred to the external environments for further investigation or prosecution, internally, you are only in the position of calling those members who are cited in any report and inform them of the outcome of the investigation. And you then tell them the matter has been referred to external environments for further investigation. That's the current situation. I don't know, Admiral Mapoto, are you there? So that you can further expatiate on this matter.
Honorable Chair, I got cut a bit, but I'm back. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, Admiral.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The questions that were in relation with the case, and unfortunately, as the chief is saying, we were expected to implement the recommendations, and one of the recommendations was to forward the case to the DPCI. They've registered DPCI inquiry number 02 of 9/2021. That is the first one. Now, there was a second question that was saying why the case doesn't go to court because there's evidence of irregular expenditure. And I think I will marry that case with the one that came later on to say why we don't see the Hawks arresting and putting the people behind bars. Unfortunately, Honorable Chair, we are in a society that is governed by the law. You cannot just take a person to court without proving certain things. First, the answer I want to give is that the forensic investigation was instituted because of the uncertainties that we had with the reports that we got, so that they can clear the way for us as to what is happening. And they've uncovered criminality in this matter in their findings. In their findings, they recommended that criminal investigation should be instituted by who? By the SAPS body, which is the Hawks, because we do not have capacity. That was done. There is no case where you will find that you take a case to court on the findings of the forensic investigation. That leads you to open a case, then the police must prove beyond reasonable doubt that there is a prima facie case, which leads you to a prosecution. Now, between the Hawks and the NPA, they must get to a prima facie case beyond reasonable doubt, so that when we go there, we shouldn't have wasted the state resources by investigations where we're going to lose. That is why sometimes cases of fraud and corruption take a bit long. And at this moment, we are happy with the progress that is made, but we cannot just rush and arrest. As the one thing that I want to highlight is that we said that this case now, those who are implicated is a company and somebody, one of our members that has already gone through on pension. Now, the military doesn't have jurisdiction over that member to do any disciplinary hearing or disciplinary action. But at least we are able to forward this matter to the Hawks. We have jurisdiction over that member and the company on their investigation. So I'm not going to talk on what the minister said, that the heads will roll. Heads will roll after an investigation and proper prosecution has been done. So at the moment, I think I've answered, but what is happening is that we are pursuing the Hawks, and we know we are not the only entity in the country that is forwarding our cases to the Hawks. They are swamped as well, the Hawks, in terms of their work. So they don't take a military case and put it forward. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Admiral. And Mr. Reiter, your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, look, I note with a sense of irony just that the fact that the General is agreeing with me that we do need to have a round table with Public Works present and the Minister, and with the Department of Defense present with the Minister, so that we can get to the bottom of this and get some accountability. But the point that I'd like to make, Chair, is that until we get a project plan with deliverable milestones linked closely to dates for completion, I think that we're not progressing at all. So that's what I'm calling for, Chair, is a project plan, deliverable milestones linked to dates and deadlines. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm sure General is taking note of that. Any other comment?
Chairperson?
Yes, Mr. Murray.
Obviously, that project must include funding. Because otherwise, if it's not funding and it's actually executable, if I can use that phrase, then it means it stays a theory or a plan that is not going to be delivered anytime soon. So when they come back on any progress, without money, you can do absolutely nothing. And that's why that whole RAM project is basically at a standstill for how many years now? And I mean, we have gone through the process of the forensic investigation and the report. And Chairperson, I just want to ask you to go and read the forensic report presentation, pages 39 and 41. You will see that Textura is directly implicated, directly in terms of a corrupt relationship. So you were wrong to defend them. And clearly, I mean, we have not progressed anything since basically 2016. And that's why it is so frustrating. And that is why it's unacceptable that the minister is not here to take accountability and responsibility, political responsibility for this mess that we are in and this embarrassment called One Military Hospital that was once the pride of Africa, if not the world. So clearly, I mean, CLOC must not take us, for granted in this way. I feel disrespected in many ways, and I hope that in the future it will be done much better. Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, I think.
Chair, just one bite for me, please, Mafanya.
Yes, Mr. Mafanya.
Yeah, Chair. From all the discussions, the disappointing issue is that both ministers, the Minister of Public Works and the of Defense, have to shoulder the blame, because in our previous meeting there was a consensus amongst themselves, and then they reached a particular conclusion that never came forth to be implemented. So the reality of the matter, both ministers have disappointed this meeting tonight. That's all that I wanted to say, sir, so that they capture as such. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Colleagues, I think we can end this meeting at that for now. And but I want to invite the colleagues to go through all the support documents that were sent to us at 5:30 last night, and which talked to the issue of the devolution of the function. It goes through all the discussions that took place between the then Minister of Defense and the then Minister of the Department of Public Works. And you'll see in all the support documents that we received last night that they also refer to the discussion that involved Treasury as well, and that a resolution was arrived at that the Department of Defense will execute its works function. So please go through those documents so that you at least to take comfort that the issue was resolved back then, that the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Minister Dilil, was here and she said what she said. And it is a matter that is on record, but of course, she can only, firm it up by retracting, their commitment that is in black and white. So we can only leave it at that. And then the second issue that the colleagues, they require is a project plan with a clear, timelines and the indication of how much each stage would require in any financial year until completion. And I'm sure the department will be able to produce that, and they will indicate by when they will be able to do that. And then the last point is the issue that Mr. Marais is raising of Tektura. And I will not just drop this item until that issue is clarified, because indeed in the presentation, the department does say that they will use Tektura going forward. But Maria is insisting, I might have missed that, my apologies, that the report does implicate Tektura in wrongdoing. And now that the matter has been raised and the meeting is public, and I don't want this to be recorded wrongly, but only you, General, can actually clarify the point so that we set the record straight. General?
Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much. Let me answer the questions and then also the timeline. By next week, Wednesday, if it can be appropriate, we would submit a formal report in terms of the timelines. Actually, they are there, the timeline of when. We just didn't put date one because that date one will be dependent on when is the money coming in. But we will again just plot this one and then send it to the honorable members to say, if date one is this month, then the next month and the other month, then we'll have a clear project plan, and also the expenditure expected to say that what will be the money required in that time. So that we'll be able to do, Honorable Chairperson. And then I think it will also be important for us to attach also the legal framework, which will then provide visibility and quote exactly the sections so that when honorable members are ventilating on this, they are able to go direct to the Constitution, direct to the Defense Act, and direct to the Giyama Act of DPW. We thank you, Honorable Chairperson, when you say that you'll be able to support us in terms of taking over rates and taxes, which we think that they are a little bit inflated. We cannot prove that one, but we suspect, and then we think that we'll be able to make a saving like we have done on the municipality services. And obviously that money will also say that we'll then reinvest it back into facilities. That is part of our strategy. And if you recall the strategy where we said that we actually want to build our own buildings and get out of the lease portfolio, which is also at a runaway. Now we are at 800 million. Now, the issue of the day-to-day maintenance, for us is very crucial. We've never seen any day-to-day maintenance, and we want to take that money and then reprioritize it and start to use it to projects which are very crucial and important. So that support will come in very handy, that in this year we take over those. Then according to our plan, we were saying the rest, because they are complex. For example, emergency maintenance. Emergency maintenance is so complex that DPW has appointed companies. Now we need to go and see and vet that process before we take it over. So for now, until the end of the year, if DPW can participate with us in investigation to say these contracts are clean, these ones are not clean, then what are we going to leave with them, and so on. So that we'll be able to do, Honorable Chairperson. But our target is that April next year, everything else must have been cleaned. And we will welcome a meeting where we can all be together and discuss these things and say, this is our plan. And we have got a very clear plan of how the rest of the functions we are going to be taking. But I can confirm we have already taken over municipality services. We want to take rates and taxes and day-to-day maintenance this year. And then the remainder, we will want to take them over after we have done due diligence to make sure that whatever comes to us, where consequence management was supposed to be put, we'll ask them to put them. I'll tell you, for example, we have complained here that in 27, that it is about 4 years now that we are complaining about the roof of one military hospital. It is still wobbling ahead and messing up medication. So those are kind of the things which you say that they should not be tolerated. So, Honorable Chairperson, I think I've answered those questions. There is the issue of the investigation with Ketura and so on, and I think that one, Honorable Chairperson, Admiral Maposo has dealt with, and also to say that punitive measures, if there are any. But Chief Locke, I think, has indicated that the legal people are looking at what is it that Ketura has done, and does it qualify to be penalized? Or so this one, I think, is the area which we say that even in our previous report, where we say once this one is sorted out and there is money, nothing stops us from going forward. However, we are not bound necessarily. If Ketura is found wrong, it can go because the report is ours. The only thing which they have is a contract which says they will deliver the contract up to the end. So if they are not wrong, and we take them away, and the contract is still on, they can challenge us on that one. But if they are wrong, we say, thank you very much, you didn't work in good faith, then penalties is that you go, then we take our report and we proceed, and we're ready to proceed. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay. No, it's fine. Colleagues, I think we'll leave it at that. The point has been made. And the department has agreed to, consider the issues if we've raised them, and so we will continue to monitor the project as this issue remains, a drainage. The fact that the hospital remains, the ramp project remains incomplete. It is a dent. It will continue to dent the fiscus because, the department is forced to outsource its services to private service providers. So we appreciate that the department is indeed trying to move with speed on this issue to try and get the one military hospital back on its feet again, especially the first floor where certain facilities were removed during construction. All right, colleagues, let's end it at that, and then thank General Mboli, General Ditowa, as well as Admiral Mapoto for assisting the meeting and understanding where is the department at insofar as this issue is concerned. We will call you back, but of course, I will not do it so quick because I don't want colleagues to say, but you are still talking intentions and there's nothing tangible. So I'll give you enough time to work around the plans. As soon as you think you have the plans firmed up and there's budget to support them and that you are ready to hit the ground, we'll call you back so that you give us the progress report. Are you okay with that, General Mbuli?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, we are okay with that. We will fully prepare and will then inform the Honorable Chair when we are ready to come and present after we have met ourselves and everything in this place. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, General. Colleagues, we can now move to the second and the third item. And I hope the Chief Joint Operations has joined the meeting. And is General Sangweni in the meeting? General Sangweni? can see General Sangweni is on the platform, and I can see his name on the platform. Maybe yes, maybe where he is, there are some technical challenges. General Sangweni, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening, Chair and members of the committee.
Good evening. Thank you very much that you have rejoined the meeting. You have joined the meeting. There was an issue. Were you aware that today there is an item that pertains to the deployment on the agenda?
Yes, Chair, I am aware, and I believe the presentation was submitted to your good selves.
Okay. All right. There was a suggestion, General, that we'll start with the presentation of the letter of employment. You are deploying up. The president is deploying is employing up to 10,000 soldiers. Those are soldiers the president is making available to the chief of the South African Defence Force, and the cost is there, and the place of deployment is also there, and what they are expecting, what the deployment is intended to achieve. All of that is in the report. However, you know how many are already on the ground, and because there's going to be a surge as and when that is required. Now, let's start with the presentation of the letters. Just present the letter so that we record that on this day, the letter of employment was presented, and colleagues will comment on the letter. Once we are done with that, we will then move to the rollout of the deployment. Basically, in the rollout of the deployment, what we need is your involvement, General, in KZN and some parts of the Eastern Cape.
Thank you, Chair. However, I did not prepare myself for the presentation of the employment papers. In previous occasions, the committee will, when the papers have been submitted to Parliament, the committee will deliberate and confirm. So I really was not aware that I have to go through the employment papers. As you have indicated, general knowledge, which I can say is the number that has been approved by the President for employment, as well as where the operation will be, or where they will be deployed. If I can say so, I think that is known by all the members of the committee. I'm not sure really the detail in terms of employment papers, what is required. I submit, Chair.
The question, General, is that beyond what is in the employment papers, contained in the employment, is anything that members want to know? I think that would be a question, General. Am I correct, General?
Thank you, Chair. In respect of what has been approved by or authorized by the President in the employment papers, there's really nothing additional that I can bring to the attention of the members of Parliament. It's also the general understanding that the figure in terms of up to how much it is a ceiling that the President decides to authorize that could and might be deployed, but then it gives us a scope to be able to maneuver. And what do I mean by maneuver is that we speak about disaster here. No one could pinpoint and say when and where and how many will be required. And us being a supporting a department as one of the interdepartmental and the whole of government effort, we'll then see as situation develops and as through the requirements from the lead department, which is COCTA, through the disaster management centers indicate where there's a need and where we could be utilized. So basically, currently, as of today, deployed in the 3 provinces on the ground is 3,394 in terms of personnel. And I think in the presentation, it's going to indicate what type of capabilities we have deployed currently.
Okay, I think that suffices, General. And then you are saying, lastly, you are confirming that the ceiling, projected expenditure will be up to 506 million rand. And that deployment is for 2 months, from the 14th of April 2022 to 14th of June 2022. All right, you may then take us through your presentation, General.
Thank you, Chair. I'll request that it be loaded from your side.
Okay, Tim, there's a request, if you can assist the General.
Chairperson, may I ask a question before the General responds?
But the presentation, you mean in relation to the letter, Mr. Murray? Mr. Murray, is in relation to the letter?
Hello?
All right, over to you, General.
Chairperson, I was now cut off. Is there a possibility that I can ask a question before the General responds?
Is it because it can't wait?
Because it deals with this presentation.
No, why can't we take the questions at the end of the presentation, Mr. Murray?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Over to you, General.
Thank you, Chair, and to all the members of the committee. The first slide, pardon me, I've got a little bit of flu and I've just recovered from COVID-19.
Sorry,
the introduction, where we just articulate what happened in KZN with the torrential rains, and then a national state of disaster was declared. And so that the rains migrated to the Eastern Cape as well as the Northwest. Next slide. The current situation is that the Department of Defense responded as part of the whole of government effort and deployed resources to contribute towards tackling the disaster. The disaster management response, relief and recovery effort is led by the Department of COCTA, whereas the interdepartmental effort is driven by the provincial joint structures through the direction of the net joints. In the provincial joints, then for the particular disaster situation, the disaster management center in the province or officials or COCTA takes the lead in the provincial joints. And as known, we are, as the SNDF, are part of the net joints as well as the prof joints structures. The Chief of National Defence Force instructed the SNDF to deploy resources for the response and relief and recovery effort as part of the whole of government effort. Well, the concept of operation, how it has unfolded or was planned and unfolded, is that through the prof joints meetings. Initially it was daily prof joints meetings as well as daily net JOCOM meetings where the situation will be presented and requirements tabled, as well as what interventions are necessary, and particularly at which places and areas of priority. And then all the government department, as well as other role players and stakeholders in the civilian environment, will then pledge or put an effort to resolving that situation. And us as the DoD, we are part of that. Mainly with us, we're involved in the damage assessment effort, and then we'll provide expertise or advice thereof where we have the expertise. And as I've said, it's not only the government departments, there's quite a number of civilian role players, NPOs and interested parties and business people who are involved. Next slide. The deployment now for this disaster is, our deployment is under Operation Chariot, which is a contingency operation designed for the SANDF to support and assist other government departments as per their request, and Chariot more in the area of disasters. We commenced with the deployment on the ground on the 13th of April, where the first elements of Air Force were deployed in eThekwini, and thereafter on the 19th, there were force elements also on standby, and others, assessment teams doing works on the ground in the Eastern Cape, as well as on the 23rd. Then we also started deploying in Northwest. Next slide. The activities that the SANDF is involved in or conducting in these 3 provinces is search and rescue, especially in the Air Force environment, search and rescue, trooping of personnel, whether it is the SANDF, SAPS, and other participants. We're using our aircrafts. Also with the aircrafts, we conduct delivery of food supplies, emergency relief supplies, as well as any equipment that needs to be delivered at certain places where it requires air transportation. Our assets as well, we conduct reconnaissance and assessment, damage assessment of in the area. When I say reconnaissance, it's when the aircraft will fly around with the necessary people to look at the areas, assess what's in the air, and be able to see a much more broader and holistic picture, and come back, and then it becomes the intelligence or information at the provincial joints, and decisions can be made. Also, our aircrafts are used for the command and control in various situations, and but particularly our assets have been active in KZN. In Eastern Cape, they were on standby if and when they were needed, as well as in the Northwest. In the medical environment, SAMS, we have few numbers in terms of medical support, to provide medical support and assistance to our own soldiers and to anywhere it is required. As an example, in Durban, they were required to assist at Prince Mshini Hospital. Next slide. Furthermore, in terms of activities now by the SA Army engineers and defense work formation personnel, those are people who are a little bit have expertise in this kind of situation. They were part of the teams who conducted damage assessment and also provided expert advice. We are also having water purification or conducting water purification on the ground, and also doing water distribution and delivery to communities. And also the engineers are also busy with excavations in some areas, opening up and restoration of damaged roads. When I say roads, meaning temporarily, so that there can be a movement. Also in other areas, especially in Durban, they are involved in temporary bridge rehabilitation. Just the basic that bridge can be utilized temporarily. Currently, this is more about response and recovery, as well as where they were required. We are also have capabilities of digging and soil filling. That's in general. We also those activities. Next slide. Well, in respect of the foot soldiers, our soldiers are deployed in escorting of our water tankers, which are delivering water to communities. This was necessitated by there was a creeping in of criminality and or attacks against the municipal water tankers delivering water. And we all know about the incident where one of the members was killed. And now our water tankers, we have to protect them when they are delivering water to communities. Some elements also were required to guard and protect certain identified national key points in critical infrastructure. So with our foot soldiers, they are involved in transportation and delivery of humanitarian food supplies, emergency relief supplies, and equipment using our trucks. We also have some visibility patrols because it was assessed the provisions that there might be, and there are indications that there might be criminality for those who seize the opportunity to do criminal activities. So we have patrols specifically in Durban urban area. We have deployed in conducting patrols. We're also involved with mobile activities. I think this week, early this week, we started to also assist in the cleanup, beach cleanup with our foot soldiers, and also the pitching of tents for temporary accommodation of displaced communities. That particularly in Northwest, the main requirement in Northwest was to assist with temporary accommodation. And yes, we have tents that we have built there and utilized by communities who were displaced. And in the naval environment, we have the SA Navy firefighting team, which is also on standby when required to conduct firefighting. Those are the activities in those 3 slides in summary. And I also like to bring to attention of the members of the committee the specialized resources or equipment that we have deployed for this effort, particularly in KZN and Northwest. Why I'm saying only KZN and Northwest? In Eastern Cape, we had plans and we put units on standby, but they have not yet been deployed or activated. Only the headquarters staff and experts who were involved with local leadership in Eastern Cape to do damage assessment. But in terms of physical deployment, has not yet happened. And I think the situation has become better. But in KZN and Northwest, 7 aircrafts are deployed from the Air Force, 2 Oryxes, 2 BK-117, and Augusta, and 2 Caravan. We also have, at this stage, 18 water bunkers, which is water tankers. We've got a 6-man divers team from the Navy, which is involved in the search and rescue with the diving effort that is stationed at Virginia Airport. We have deployed 2 water purification systems in KZN as well as in Northwest, as well as 1 water bottling plant in KZN. We have a capability with the engineers where after purification, they can put the water in sachets or in bottles, and it's also deployed and operational currently. We've got a number of cargo trucks which is assisting in transportation of equipment, where our equipment, as well as part of the relief to the communities. We also deployed 3 TLBs. Next slide. You'll see these are equipment mainly in the engineer as well as defense works formation capabilities and artisans. We have a grader deployed, we have got dozer deployed, we've got excavator deployed, and then 18-ton crane, firefighting truck, and 3 ambulances. The latest number as of Sunday of tents that we have provided for temporary accommodation is 33. This is the area where many people always expect that we in the military, we have tents available to assist during disasters. Yes, some years ago, it was the situation was like that. We could assist, but currently we are in dire straits ourselves. We really do not have. We wish we could have assisted with much more in terms of tentage, but we are struggling ourselves to provide tentage accommodation to our own soldiers. But yes, we did sacrifice as much as possible, and we're able to gather 33 tents that are deployed mainly in the Northwest province. Next slide. Well, this is just reflecting the legal framework of this deployment. And it is what I can present or bring to the attention as information to the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, General, for the presentation. Very clear, and it tells us what the department is doing, the SNDF is doing on the ground as part of the relief operations. Next, now the matter is open for discussion. As you know, I'm unable to read the hands. May you just tell me who want to speak before I let you speak? Mr. Mare, I can see you want to speak. Any other? This Mr. Mafanya.
As you can see, load shedding is over here. So I've got now view.
Oh, you're back. I thought it was going to keep you out.
And Thabo Mutle?
And Chelembe. Oh, thank you very much. Those are the only hands you can see, Mr. Mafanya. Let me repeat it for you. It's Mare, Mafanya, Thabo Mutle, and Chelembe.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So I will take them in this order. I'll start with Mr. Mare.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, CJ Ops. General, thank you very much for the presentation. Apologies that you were thrown into the under the bus to try and present the letter, but we know that that is not your task. We are obviously, again, immensely proud of the work that you guys have done now in Gauteng, in KZN and in the Eastern Cape. I think you have again proven to South Africa that when we call on you, you are able to do it in a very, very disciplined way. And I've read through, this report, and it makes me very proud to be associated with the Defence Force. I just wanted to quickly ask you, and I just want to reiterate this. People always think that there's now 10,000 soldiers on the ground. And that's the difference between deployment and employment. And they must understand that that 10,000 is the maximum, the ceiling that the president has authorized and approved, and is not actually what is on the ground at this stage. I just wanted to check with you. In the presentation, you referred to 3,001 being on the ground, and now you've referred to 3,394. I just want to get confirmation that the latter is the one at the moment. Then I also just wanted to get confirmation from you. You have started to refer to the platforms, the 7 Air Force platforms that you've got deployed. You said it's the 2 Oryx, the 2 Caravans, and which are the other ones? I read somewhere about the C-130 that is what was probably also being utilized. But if you can just reconfirm that. And then my last thing, Chair, and that is not the responsibility of the CJ Ops, but we know that under the budget, the total amount that is budget for support to the people, of which this is part, is only 1.229 billion rand. Now, we know that covers Corona, that covers a Chariot, and many other projects as well. And now we are in the beginning of this financial year, and we know that 500 million is about 41% of their total budgeted amount. How is the Defence Force and specifically Operation Joint Ops prepared for this, and how do you deal with this to already start to mitigate the pressures that you will find later on in the year? Because once things like this happens, you can't say the rain must now stop, or the flooding must now stop, or you must not go into the mountains and try to save people who are in danger, or flying out to boats and ships that need support. How do you deal with this going forward and starting this financial year with this pressure already, that you know that nearly half of your money is pumped into one single project? Thank you very much, Chair. But we really certainly appreciate the work that you do. Absolutely. And you must convey that to the soldiers.
Mr. Mafoni?
Thank you very much, Chair. Firstly, I would like to applaud General Sangweni for the presentation. General, the inability to train members of the defense according to the required standards due to poor infrastructure and equipment. How do you mitigate that? And then number 2, the defense emergency transport, for example, the vehicles on the ground, including aging aircraft to carry equipment and staff. I'm taking cue from your presentation when we were dealing with the issues of unrest in KZN and Gauteng. Then that one I would like also to understand the frustrations that we go through. Then how does the reduction of a number of reserve force members affect you or your intentions in cases like this one of Operation Chariot? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Motle.
Thank you very much, Chair. Firstly, I will take this opportunity as well to actually applaud General Sangweni and the team that is under his leadership on the ground to deal with the unfortunate event that took place or happened in KZN, Eastern Cape, as well as parts of Northwest. Yeah, indeed, we are proud of the work that they are doing and the manner in which they are able to respond effectively and efficiently to address and assist at all material times our people who are in need of their services. But maybe the question just to ascertain us that the troops that are deployed there, in terms of their well-being? How well are they taken care of in terms of supplies of rations, medical support, so forth and so on, all the logistics that they require? And what is it that you and your team have done to ensure that what we experienced in the past does not come out as a challenge or a problem in relation to this deployment? As you might be aware that Mozambique, there was a letter returned to the EFF as a complaint. Previously, there was an issue, I don't know whether it's Mozambique or a DRC, on the quality of food consumed, whether it was expired, something of that nature, that they created a problem for the troops that are deployed there. What are the steps that we have taken or the measures taken to ensure that the troops that are deployed in this mission are not victim to those? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shilebe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Mr. Marino has covered my question, but the only thing that, Chair, I may request, that was something, huge that the people of KwaZulu-Natal had to suffer. But I'm checking now with the current deployment, is it possible for Babu Sangweni to update us of the latest, success, as they are deployed, or they are not in a position, because now it's good for us to say so much have been deployed, but there are such, successes, so that we can be proud of, of what we are investing, so that we don't just wait until at the end. If it is possible, just the success since, the beginning, or, the attack by these, what you call these heavy rains in Durban. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I was going to say exactly what Bob Shilebe has said, that you have actually underrepresented yourself, General. If I was in your position, I would even, insert pictures, just to depict the extent of the involvement of the members of the defense force on the ground. In KZN, I see your helicopter almost, every day, and I know the work they are doing on the ground, and I've seen pictures of rescue, search and rescue. I'm saying those graphic pictures will help, in the future when you present. And also just indicate the what you appear to be, sticky points, challenges. I know that some families are still waiting for search and rescue team to come and, assist in digging up their loved ones. And they've also shown me the debris under which they are buried, and indicating the amount of stuff, of people, personnel, and equipment that will be needed to remove the debris, so that you get to the bodies that are still buried underground. There are instances where even the dog has indicated where some of the bodies may be, but because of the debris, they are unable to, and the manpower, they are unable to recover remove the debris and recover the bodies. And also indicate the challenges where, the difficulties we have in reaching out to people and so on and so forth. So I think your presentation is fine in terms of how you have deployed the resources. It's now how many days since that happened? I mean, you're deployed from the 14th of April. Today is May. It's more than 16 days, 3 weeks since you were on the ground. You could now start to tell us stories as to what you pick up on the ground. I mean, when you were in Mozambique, was it during the floods? We still have those vivid memories of soldiers, plucking, is that the word? Children people, plucking people removing, let me say, rescuing people from the rooftops, and some who were in the trees and so on and so forth. We still have those vivid figures there because we could see it. And that's what made people to appreciate the Defense Force at the time. Back then, Defense Force was known to be in the townships and doing the things that they were doing. And if they were not in the townships, of course, they were in the borders or in other countries doing the things that they were doing. But when it comes to relief operations and people seeing it with their own eyes, it took the Defense Force to another point. So I thought you do not undersell yourself. You tell us exactly what you encounter on the ground and what lessons is the Defense Force learning, from its involvement, and what support you think you need from us, so that whenever such incidents, occurrences, disasters strike any part of the country, you are able to mobilize the team and move in with speed. Because in matters like this, the quicker, the speed is of the essence. The quicker you move, the better it becomes for our own communities. So it doesn't matter when in an emergency, if you people would not hold you in high regard when in an emergency you don't show the speed, you don't show the urgency, you don't show the agility, and that you can intervene and mitigate the sufferings of our own people. So I'm saying, I was expecting your presentation to start to look in that direction, and but unfortunately, you are not presenting it in a sense of saying exactly what you are encountering on the ground. That's the reason why you have questions from Shelembe, which I wholeheartedly support, because I was going to raise it. Of course, you can then deal with the other questions from the other members. Over to you, General.
Thank you, Chair, and members of the committee. I will attempt to respond to the questions accordingly, and hopefully to the satisfaction. Firstly, I want to express my gratitude and that of all the members of the Defense Force, for all the members of the committee. You started by appreciating and commending the work that we have done during this operation, if I can call it, but for us it's more about contributing to the effort. And with limited capabilities, Yes, Mr. Mare, the numbers, I said 3,301 is because that presentation I compiled on Sunday or Monday. That was 3,301. As of today, I indicated an increased number as I was looking at the CTREP as we start getting specific capabilities that we need as the situation dictates. So this is why now the number on the presentation end of today is different. It's a little bit more up to date. The aircrafts that are on the ground is 7. There's no C-130. It is the 2 caravans that are used for the search and rescue and reconnaissance, as well as transport for officials that are on the ground, including the VIPs. And then there's 2 Oryxes, and then there's 2 BK-117, and then 1 Augusta A109, which is the 7 aircrafts that are on the ground. We wish we could have had more, but this is what we could scramble and deploy currently. The financial situation, I did not go there, and I tend to not want to go there. You asked how are we going to manage with the support to the people program, having been budgeted for so much, and now there's unplanned and ad hoc and an emergency situation that need for deployment. Yes, I do not know. I do not have an answer how we're going to manage. What we do is when there's a requirement and there's a need, we work with what we have in front of us, and we'll see later, members of the committee, what will happen to the allocation. The allocation is support to the people. The main sub-program there is border safeguarding. And then the other one, which is primarily and takes quite a big chunk of that program. And then you will have Prosper, or in terms we have to support the SAPS, and then we have now Chariot or Arabella, which are contingency operations. Previously, we used to have a contingency provision of this, but we do not have anymore. So we are digging from or taking from the main sub-program being border safeguarding or Operation Corona. We are using that. We hope we'll be able to make it through the financial year. We rely on hope. Like you said, if this can carry on elsewhere, will be required and we will deploy. And we will not necessarily look at the budget first, if it is available or not. We carry on and we'll see later. Actually, that is the correct way of how we're supposed to be, meaning we're supposed to conduct our business by objective, not by means dictated by the budget. And we still try to live up to that as far as possible. Mr. Mafanya also raised pertinent issues of how do we mitigate the lack of adequate training, the effect of the reduction of the reserve force members and the impact, as well as the challenge of mobility and serviceable equipment. All of this, Nora Mafanya, it's difficult for me to say how, but what we do nowadays is make ends meet. In terms of training, the basic training and continuous training, it does provide a capability that a soldier is a soldier. But there is a requirement for continuous training and specific training and expertise. But we then, in the absence of the current situation of reduced training due to reduced funding, I would say we make ends meet. We end up using the approach that a soldier must do what he has to do in one way or another. So the basic training of a soldier, the up-built of a soldier, we then kick it in such that the soldier will do what he has not been trained for. He'll apply his skills that he has been trained on as a soldier, and in most situations we do succeed. There's no training in the environment of disaster management. There's no dedicated training and expertise. But with our effort and our hearts, we will then be able to utilize the skills that we have and make it happen. The mobility and non-serviceability, that one, there's no mitigation currently. How do we face it? I normally use the word, we are bleeding. Soldiers have to walk long distances in situations where they're supposed to be using vehicles. And that affects our efficiency and our effectiveness, because we do not have enough serviceable vehicles. You'll recall, during the July unrest, we patrolled and moved soldiers by buses. Those buses that are normally used for as duty buses, were to use them. And it's one part that is very painful and putting an overload and stress to our soldiers, but rather not to our soldiers, to all of us as soldiers. I'm a soldier myself, and I need to have mobility to move to different places. When we speak about mobility, if we had enough aircrafts, we could have done much more. The situation required could have been done much more better and effectively if we had much more aircrafts and different types, even cargo transport aircraft. But we do not have. So yes, that one is, I do not have an answer. Honorable Moncler also appreciated and commended all the soldiers right down to the last soldier. And you then brought in a sore point as well. How are soldiers taken care of on the ground in respect of medical support, accommodation, and feeding? Then you indicated the previous incidents and situations. And you asked me, what measures have we taken to ensure this does not happen? Again, this one is a difficult one. Measures are always there. But measures must be there where there is capabilities. Currently, those who are deployed, we have planned, and there's also a hope that what we have planned is adequate and will not make the life of the soldiers difficult in terms of medical support. We have medical teams embedded with our soldiers. Like I indicated, we've got 3 ambulances as well on the ground. Is that adequate? No, it is not. It is not adequate at all in terms of feeding, accommodation. Accommodation, we struggle. We use the same field accommodation that is required to assist the people as well. And so far, I think we are managing the feeding part. I'm not sure how long it will still be okay. Because when I'm in the field, we use ration packs, meals ready to eat in the field. Luckily, with this operation, we had some available that we are utilizing, and then go to the normal feeding systems of wet and dry rations. But I don't want to say it is enough, it is adequate, and it will last up to. There's a reason to that. I think I'll raise that at the end in terms of challenges. Maybe let me start by saying, Honorable Motley, if we have to respond, the chair also indicated quickly and as required or expected by the people who must have all the capabilities, who must have all the stock levels available. And currently we do not have stock levels and reserves. And why don't we have? It is because of the capacity or capabilities. I mean, when I say capabilities, there's the different lines of and levels of support where we must have a fourth line as well available. We must have stock levels at the depots. We as soldiers are supposed to have food stocked in case of, but currently the situation dictates to us to you only procure or have food when there is an operation. That is not how soldiering and or military is designed. But we've been forced to this situation, and we try and survive through it. So if you say tomorrow morning move, there'll be no food that I'm going to go and gather for the soldiers. Also, do not have the stock reserves and the stock levels required. I'm just making an example of rations. We go through the same normal procurement process like everyone else in the country. So we'll be affected, and we're affected in Durban because the roads were non-negotiable. They're broken down. There was no water. There was no electricity. And where we buy food, they were also affected. So we do not have our own dedicated reserves. That is strategic situation that I would have not liked to speak about, but yes, that's what we faced with. We are making all ends meet, that our soldiers are taken care of, and ourselves as well. Me, I don't diverse myself and say, I'm in operation, and I live the same life as they are. When they are affected, it is the same. Mr. Shelembe, update on successes and the chair also touched strongly on that one. I did not go there, but for me, the first elements that were on the ground, the air assets, really made a difference. For me, they were a success. And they were at Virginia, SAPS aircrafts, very few, very limited in their design. And then there were private companies that are there with their small aircrafts as well, which were particularly focusing on rescue, search and rescue, and also dropping divers there. And then when our aircrafts arrive, when we have Oryx, we have more BK-117, they were able to bring in more capacity. And I think when you see on TV, you could see, and those who have went to Virginia Airport, then it's a hype of activity. When there were more aircrafts from the SNDF, from the Air Force, it became much more easier for those teams to do their work. And our assets were involved in a lot of successes where bodies were recovered from bodies were recovered and people recovered. In this case, it is not necessarily the SNDF, it's all of the government effort and the civilian entities and private sector were involved, and our aircrafts made a difference as well, and still making a difference. Also, the temporary accommodation in terms of tents in Northwest Boston, the municipality did not have enough. So it did assist. Our limited capabilities of graders and TLBs in terms of digging and soil filling. I think there was also a clip on the TV where we were involved in pulling out debris and where the house had fallen down. Our TLB was involved in that as well. Yes, we have not projected it as the chair has indicated. I didn't feel that we can go as far as that, but we should have. I agree. And then one critical situation, water. It is said the future wars will be about water. When there's no water, life comes to a standstill, and that is one of the main situations in Durban. We have even taken a decision that we are moving now some of the water purification and tankers from Northwest to Durban just to beef up in that area. We have established a water distribution point for any other tanker can come and take water that we have purified and to distribute. We also have our own water bunkers that are distributing water. If we had enough capabilities, almost all communities will have dedicated trucks going there, but we do not have. But we really, those who have got water from the water tankers of soldiers and inclusive of municipalities are appreciative, have seen it. It is really a success, water purification, and they are spoken about the recovery of bodies. And in some measure of success, it is the expertise that we bring in sometimes, and also the confidence when the SAPS and other security cluster and also private sector are with us. There's a little bit more of confidence around everyone, and then we push and we go forward. The challenge is, Chair. I did not go to challenges because sometimes I feel we've said enough. We say enough. I will go broadly, strategical. Challenges currently in that operation is capabilities. I indicated one TLB there, one grader there, and some of them already went after a week, they became unserviceable. They are no more active. We're busy repairing them. So if we had adequate capabilities, meaning the Defence Force be capacitated also for disaster situation. Now, if it's disaster situation, mean there'll be dedicated assets that will fit that. I indicated some years back when I was still a junior, we had that the provinces had tents put aside and blankets put aside at the stores for disaster. Each province have disaster management centers, and we're part of those cluster forums, and we'll set aside tents and blankets that could be utilized. Nowadays, we do not have. Look at the capabilities now from the works formation. We've now drawn them in, and they've been damaged and been unserviceable, and it will take time for us to bring them to a level of serviceability again. Now the defense work formation is affected. So if we had adequate, we won't be worried about that. Enough capabilities, air assets, ground assets. And the other one, again, like I said, Honorable Motley, the issue of can I confirm that there's adequate food and which is appropriate? The challenge is we do not have a suitable or tailor-made procurement process. Sometimes we say for the military, and people tend to say we want to do our own things. It is because of the design and how our work. Let me rather not say it now for the military. Suitable for emergency situation. If I have to go through the normal procurement process of going through the procurement and delivery by suppliers, and it will have taken 3 weeks before we could deploy. It would have taken 3 weeks before we could deploy. And the chair spoke about immediate and emergency. I say challenges, capabilities, suitable and tailor-made procurement process. When we raise this, it's not because we do not want to go through the normal governance and PFMA. But if you speak about emergency, you must always have stock. And if there is no stock, there must be a process that allows you to be able, that same day there's a requirement, you are able to. I think I've covered the aspect of challenges. I hope I've covered it adequately. I apologize if I went overboard. The questions that you posed, members of the committee, are critical and sore points to us. So yeah, I think I might have went too much. I submit.
Yeah, thanks. Are you saying, General, the emergency provisions that are in the Disaster Act do not help you procure much faster to deal with the situation? Just want to know, just yes or no?
No, they do not, Chair. They do not. Remember, those were the provisions that were there during Tlela, if I can say, or during the COVID-19 huge deployment.
Doesn't have.
Yeah, it did not really speak to us. Okay. It was there, but it did not. It does not. And now it's example that I was called, like what was late in the evening by the chief, not late in the evening, early in the morning at 0100 at 1 o'clock in the morning, and said he said was initially at the assets, and then he said, Chief Joint Ops, tomorrow morning boots on the ground and all the capabilities in the morning. Now in the morning, where will I get food? Because I relate to what Mr. Mutle talked about, and yeah, we do not have currently.
Okay. No, it's fine. No, thank you very much for the presentation. Yes, sir.
Apologies, Chair. The one that I did not cover, sorry, was the reserve force, the card. It does affect us. I think it's Honorable Nwafanya. It does. It has an impact. It will always have an impact. Reserve force are there to augment the numbers that we have, and they are required in the offices. We need them in the offices. We need them also in operations. And when the numbers are cut, we get affected. But luckily, when it comes to operations, we have been able to not limit ourselves, but at the end, it will tap into the allocation that is there for a year. And the more I use during operations, then it affects. But currently, yes, we are using them. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Honorable Mutle, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I wanted to make a follow-up with your permission, Chair.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Thanks, Chair. I want to take advantage of the fact that the log division are in the meeting. In line with what the responses that we've got from General Sangweni in terms of the capabilities in this regard, Russian packs that should be available for troops on the ground, which we must not take it light. I think it's a very serious challenge. Maybe Chief Log must just tell us right here and now that what are the challenges? Why is that the case? Because I mean, despite the fact that they've got challenges, they cannot procure emergency. They don't have a leeway given the PFMA that legislate how things should be done. They should be able to plan ahead, knowing that there is this kind of a legislation. In the past, they used to have contract service providers contracted to supply them with both Russian packs, so forth and so on, including fuel. I know General Sangweni might have not spoken about that, but I think also because they don't have a contract on fuel, service provider supplying them with fuel, it might also be a challenge at that level. So what is the log division? What has the log division done since the expiry of those contracts up until today? When are they intending to quickly close the gap so that we don't see all the deployments that we have currently experiencing a crisis in terms of those supplies?
All right. No, thanks. I'm not too sure if generally you have a quick answer. We have gone over time by 7 minutes. Well, answer to this one. I think your question is much more is broadly. You know, it goes beyond what we are discussing, Thabo, isn't it? I know that you started by dealing with the issues that General spoke about, and he explained why it was difficult to source, such material. And she also spoke to keeping the right levels of stock, so that in an emergency like this, you move and not only start by acquisition, especially when the PFMA, you can't just go out and buy things. You've got to follow certain procedure. I think for purposes of this meeting, I think the General's response was adequate. And I think yours goes much broader than what has been presented. Is that my understanding correct? So that when I ask, the General has that in mind.
Chair, it might seem broad, but it's in line with the deployment. Okay. Remember, it's the responsibility of the log division to ensure that all these things that CJ Ops requires for these deployments, they are there.
Okay. Let me ask CJ, the General. General, please, in your response, limit yourself to your support in relation to this particular deployment. As for other things, given the issue of time, we can then discuss it at another time. Chief Log?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. For me, the main challenge is the status of the Defence Force, and for this operation, it's part of that. So if the total system is not, that's why in terms of challenges, I raised just two high-level challenges: the procurement system being one of them, and the capabilities. It's quite a number of things. You will have ration packs, but you must then get into where there's wet ration. Then you must have stoves. Then you must have gas. You must have this. And when the whole system is not comprehensive, there's always challenges, but we are making ends meet currently. I submit.
Yes. No, yes, you are right. I heard you correctly that it's the whole support system that got weakened as a result of capabilities not being funded adequately. I don't know if Chief Log wants to come in at this stage. I'm not too sure if he's still in the meeting. Okay, it doesn't look like he's in the meeting. Thank you very much. But nevertheless, that question can still be posed. It's relevant as we discuss budget. And so we will deal with it, colleagues, in the near future. Colleagues, let me thank you, General, for your presentation. Next time, General, you see, the letters of the president are fine, especially when the president, extend the deployment. But the view of the committee is that the president acts on your advice. You advise the president that the situation on the ground is such that if you withdraw the deployment now, all the things that you've been able to achieve would be reversed. And you do the appraisal of the situation. Now, here we get the letter that says we're extending the deployment for a year, for 3 months, or for a year, or for 2 years. And I think you should be in a position now when you come and brief us to say, look, the situation is such that an extension should be maintained. Our presence in this country or in this place should be maintained, that any thing to the contrary will reverse the case. And you may not want to go into the details why you are explaining so. So that we also get a sense of what informs the decision to extend the deployment, because it comes with the resources, and we support all the peacekeeping missions on the continent. We'll always support the president in that, but us being put in that loop, being put in to be given the same level of understanding of roughly what's happening on the ground, will assist in appreciating even the fact that our presence in a country or in a particular area may be longer than any other person may actually imagine. But we can only arrive at that conclusion if you feed us with the information that you gather on the ground. Of course, in feeding us with the information, you'll know what information should be shared with us in public, as it were. And you may, in the event you want to share it in camera, you'll indicate and make that provision for us to receive that information. So I thought it should not be mechanical, when in fact the process itself is not mechanical. It's informed by the conditions on the ground that we never get briefed about. Are we on the same page on that one, General?
Chair, there's a hand from Log Division, if you may note that.
Okay. Are we on the same page?
Chair, and understood. We'll present to my superiors, but what we've stated is understood.
Is understood. Colleagues, we've gone over time by 15 minutes. And you are saying the log's hand is up. Chief General Mbuli?
Honorable Chairperson, I just wanted to confirm that Chief Log is not gone. He's just gone to the bathroom. I was struggling to respond to your question, but we will accept that we can make a follow-up because the meeting is now long overdue with your guidance. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes. Okay, at least it will also allow you to prepare even better for the response. Colleagues, we're not going to deal with the minutes in view of time. Let me thank you, Chief Joins, General Mbuli and General Lidwaba, and Admiral Mapoto for the presentation this morning, this evening. I found your presentation very much useful and helping us understand where we are going. And with that, I wish to thank all the colleagues and for what transpired this evening. Thank you very much. We can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.